Let's be honest for a second. How did you feel when your alarm went off this morning? Did you jump out of bed, ready to attack the week? Or did you hit snooze, pull the covers up, and feel that heavy, familiar dread settling in your chest? We've all been there. That sinking feeling that usually starts creeping in around 4 p.m. on a Sunday. It's the anxiety that whispers, "I don't want to do this again." And it's not just about hating your job. It's deeper than that. It's that gnawing suspicion that everyone else around you has somehow figured it out. You scroll through LinkedIn or Instagram, and it looks like all your friends are on this perfect linear trajectory, getting promotions, buying houses, living their best lives, while you feel like you're just treading water, falling behind. You feel stuck. Maybe you're stuck in a career that looks great on paper but feels empty in practice. Or maybe you're stuck in a relationship, or just a general fog of malaise where you can't quite see the path forward. Think of it like being lost in a deep, dense forest. You're hiking, and suddenly the trail disappears. You check your pockets, no map, no GPS. You start walking in what you think is the right direction, but after an hour, you realize you've just walked in a giant circle. You're back exactly where you started, tired, frustrated, and scared that you'll never find your way out. That is the modern condition for so many of us.
But here is the good news, and it is the central thesis of the book we are diving into today, Designing Your Life, by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. The problem isn't you. The problem isn't that you aren't working hard enough or that you aren't smart enough. The problem is that you are trying to navigate your life using a map that is fundamentally broken. You are navigating based on what Burnett and Evans, who, by the way, teach this exact methodology at Stanford University, called dysfunctional beliefs. These are the silent, toxic scripts running in the background of our minds, things we've been taught since we were children. And the biggest, most damaging one of them all, you should know where you're going by now. If you don't know where you're going, you're late, you failed. But what if that belief is just wrong?
That belief is fundamentally flawed, and it stops us before we ever really begin. Welcome to The Last Read. Books for your ears, wisdom for your life. If you are ready to stop drifting and start building, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. We are curating the most impactful ideas in print, and you won't want to miss the tools coming down the pipeline that could change the way you wake up tomorrow morning. Today, the tool is Designing Your Life.
Now, let's be clear. This is not your standard self-help fluff. This isn't about positive affirmations or merely wishing for a better tomorrow. This is a battle-tested methodology straight from the classrooms of the Stanford Design School, specifically the famous Life Design Lab. It is about applying the principles of design thinking, the same rigorous process used to create the technology in your pocket or the furniture in your home, to the chaos of the human experience. Over this episode, we will reveal the secrets of how to prototype your existence, effectively allowing you to see the future before it happens. We will explore how to reframe your missteps and actually fail your way to success. We are going to hand you a toolkit to build a life that is not just productive, but joyful. It is a total shift in perspective. And if you want to dive deeper, if you want to work through the exercises with a pen in hand, which I highly recommend, the link of the hard book is at the description. But to really trust this process, you need to understand where it comes from. You see, the men behind this method didn't just stumble upon these ideas in a moment of inspiration. They engineered them in the high-stakes environment of Silicon Valley.
Meet Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. Now, these aren't just two academics theorizing in an ivory tower. They are veterans of the revolution that built the modern world. Dave Evans is the guy who led the team at Apple that designed the first mouse, before going on to co-found Electronic Arts, a titan in the gaming industry. And Bill Burnett? He was designing the award-winning PowerBooks at Apple, literally engineering the way we interact with portable technology.
Today, they serve as the executive directors of the Stanford Design Program, running the famous Life Design Lab, where this methodology was born. And here is the core of their philosophy. They approached the chaos of human existence as what designers call a wicked problem. In engineering, you have tame problems, like building a bridge or solving a math equation, where there is a clear destination and a right answer. But a wicked problem, like designing the first mouse, or indeed designing your life, is different. It is messy, the data is incomplete, and there is no single correct solution.
Most people get stuck because they try to solve their life like a math problem, searching for the one true answer. Burnett and Evans argue that your life is not a problem to be solved. It is the ultimate design project. You don't analyze your way to the future. You build your way forward, prototyping different versions of yourself until you find what fits. So, how do we start this build? Well, every designer knows you can't design a solution until you honestly assess where you are starting from.
And that starting point brings us to the very first step of design thinking. In the design world, we call this the empathy phase. But when you are designing your own life, empathy really translates to simple, radical acceptance. You have to accept exactly where you are right now. Not where you wish you were or where you think you should be, but where you actually are. Burnett and Evans have a mantra for this. You are here. Just like those maps in a shopping mall. You can't figure out how to get to the food court if you don't know where the You Are Here dot is. To find that dot in your own life, they introduce a tool they call the HWPL Dashboard. Think of it like the dashboard of a car. You wouldn't dream of driving cross-country without checking your gas gauge, your oil levels, or your engine temperature, right? If the check engine light is flashing and the speedometer is at 0, you don't just stomp on the gas and hope for the best. Your life has gauges too. And for this dashboard, there are 4 that matter most: health, work, play, and love.
Let's break them down quickly. Health is the foundation. It's your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. If this tank is empty, the car doesn't run, period. Work is what you do for contribution, paid or unpaid. Play is just joy for the sake of joy, doing things with no goal other than the fun of doing them. And love, that's your connection to others, pets, community, anything where affection flows. Now, visualize a scenario that the authors see all the time at Stanford. Imagine a high-powered executive. Let's call him Steve. Steve is crushing it. He's a CEO, making great money, featured in magazines. His work gauge is pegged at 100%, full tank. But Steve is miserable. Why? Well, if we look at his dashboard, his health light is blinking red because he never sleeps. His love gauge is hovering near empty because he hasn't had a meaningful conversation with his wife in months. And play? Steve doesn't even remember what play is. He thinks golf is play, but he spends the whole time networking and stressing about his swing. That's not play. That's just more work with a club in your hand.
Steve is trying to drive a car with 3 flat tires and an overheating engine just because he has a full tank of gas. It doesn't work. So I want you to take a second right now. Mentally check your own dashboard. Close your eyes if you can. Look at those 4 gauges. How full is your work tank? What about your play? How much love is flowing in and out? And how is your health really holding up? Be honest. There's no judgment here. Remember, the first step is acceptance. You can't design a better route until you admit that maybe, just maybe, you're running on fumes in the play department. Once you know where you are standing, once you have accepted the reality of your dashboard, you are finally ready to start moving. But simply knowing where you are isn't enough to tell you where to go. For that, you need a different kind of instrument. You need a compass. And constructing that compass requires understanding why you are driving this car in the first place.
Why you are driving this car in the first place. You need to build a compass. See, a lot of us feel lost not because we don't have a map. Life doesn't hand out maps anyway, but because our internal navigation systems are scrambling the signal. We have these 2 powerful forces pulling at us, and often they're pulling in opposite directions. Bill Burnett and Dave Evans call these your Workview and your Lifeview. Your Workview is your philosophy on labor. Why do you work? Is it just for the paycheck? Is it for status? Or is it about service and contribution? Then you have your Lifeview. This is the big stuff. What gives life meaning? What are your values? How do you relate to your family, your community, or the world at large?
The problem, and this is where people get stuck,
is when these two views go to war with each other. Imagine a guy, let's call him Mark. Mark has a life view that deeply values public health. He believes his purpose is to leave the world healthier than he found it. But Mark's work view is, I work to maximize shareholder profit, and he happens to be a marketing executive for a tobacco company. Mark is in trouble. His compass is broken. He might be successful by every external metric, but he is never going to feel on course because who he is and what he does are fundamentally fighting one another. He lacks what the authors call coherency.
Coherency is the sweet spot. It's when your work view and your life view are talking to each other. When they align, you have a true north. This is crucial because in life design, there is no GPS. You don't get a blue line showing you the exact turn-by-turn to happiness. But if you have a compass, if you have coherency, you don't need to see the destination. You just need to know you're heading in the right direction. So, once you've calibrated that compass, once you know your true north, how do you actually find your way through the woods day to day? You can't just stare at the compass. You have to look for clues in the terrain. You have to learn the art of wayfinding. And that starts with playing detective in your own life.
So you have to play detective in your own life. And that brings us to the ancient art of wayfinding. Wayfinding is exactly what it sounds like. It's the art of figuring out where you're going when you don't actually know your destination. You can't plug My Perfect Life into Google Maps and get a route. There's no satellite view. So how do you navigate? You look for clues in the immediate terrain. Burnett and Evans offer a brilliant tool for this called the Good Time Journal. It's deceptively simple. For a few weeks, you just log your daily activities. But you're not tracking productivity or calories. You are tracking two very specific signals: engagement and energy. Engagement is about attention. When are you bored? When are you distracted? And most importantly, when are you in flow? Flow is that state of being so immersed in a task that the rest of the world melts away and time seems to stand still. It's engagement on steroids.
Then there's energy. This is different from engagement. You might be fully engaged in a heated argument or a complex spreadsheet, but afterward, you feel completely drained. That's a negative energy flow. You want to find the things that actually give you energy, the tasks that leave you buzzing. Let's look at a classic example from the book, the story of a civil engineer. On paper, she's successful. She has the degree, the job, the salary, but she feels stuck. So she starts her Good Time Journal. She assumes she hates her job because of the difficult people or the stress, but the journal reveals a shocking pattern. When she's doing the core work of engineering, the complex calculations, the solitary problem solving, her energy flatlines. She's bored and drained. But when she's in client meetings, when she's explaining a concept to a stakeholder or helping a team navigate a conflict, her energy skyrockets. She enters a state of flow. This is a massive revelation. She realized she didn't hate the environment of engineering. She hated the engineering itself. She loved the people work. This insight allowed her to pivot. She didn't have to throw away her career entirely. She just shifted her trajectory toward a role that was heavy on communication and project management and light on the solitary math. She stopped trying to force herself into a mold that didn't fit and started following the breadcrumbs of joy. That's the power of wayfinding. You stop overthinking the next 10 years and just look at the evidence right in front of you. What gave me energy today? What drained me? But sometimes, wayfinding reveals that the path you're on just ends. Or maybe you realize there isn't just one path. Maybe there are 5 or 10, and that can be terrifying unless you realize that you don't have to live just one life. In fact, the designers argue that you have multiple lives inside you, waiting to be lived.
And that idea that you have multiple lives within you can feel a bit overwhelming, right? Because we're conditioned to believe the exact opposite. There is this pervasive, dysfunctional belief that we all carry around, the idea that there is one best life for you, one singular, perfect path, and if you miss it, well, you've blown it. You're settling. Designing your life challenges us to completely dismantle that myth. They argue that there isn't just one right life. There are many good lives you could live, all dependent on the choices you make and the way you design your way forward. To prove this to yourself, you need to map them out. This is where the Odyssey Plans come in. This is probably the most famous exercise in the book. It asks you to sketch out 3 completely different 5-year timelines for your future. Not just one plan A and a backup plan B. 3 distinct, equally viable versions of your life. Here is the framework they lay out. Life number 1 is the life you are currently on. It's the status quo. If you just kept doing exactly what you're doing now for the next 5 years, what would that look like?
Life number 2 is the pivot. This is the life you would live if life number 1 were suddenly gone. Let's say the industry you work in disappears overnight, or AI takes your job. What would you do instead? And then there is life number 3. This is the one that usually makes people nervous. This is the life you would live if money were no object, and, crucially, if no one would laugh at you. If you knew you wouldn't be judged, what would you do? Let's put this into context with a culturally relevant example. Picture a corporate accountant living in Chicago. In her life 1, the 5-year plan is pretty standard. She keeps grinding during tax season, maybe gets promoted to senior manager, and eventually aims for partner. It's predictable, it's safe. In her life 2, let's say the accounting firm dissolves. She pivots. Maybe she takes her skills to a nonprofit, or she goes corporate and works in-house for a tech startup in Austin. It's different, but it still uses her core professional DNA.
But then she gets to life 3, the money is no object, no one will laugh plan. In this timeline, she moves to Tuscany. She buys a small villa and starts running culinary tours for American tourists. She spends her days sourcing olive oil and organizing wine tastings. Now, most people look at life 3 and think, well, that's just a fantasy. That's eat, pray, love. I can't actually do that. But the point of the Odyssey plan isn't to force you to quit your job and move to Italy tomorrow. It's to show you that the partner track isn't the only life available to you. It unlocks your peripheral vision. However, there is a trap here. You might look at that Tuscan fantasy and think, that's it, I'm selling the house. Please don't do that. The designers warn us against making huge leaps based on a fantasy version of the future. You don't want to commit to the bakery before you've ever baked for a crowd. You need a way to sneak up on the future without risking everything. You need to test drive the life before you buy it.
This brings us to one of the core engineering mindsets in the book, prototyping. In Silicon Valley, where Burnett and Evans hail from, you never launch a product without a beta version. You don't build the bridge before you've built a model. And yet, when it comes to our lives, we often skip this step entirely. We tend to think we need to make a massive commitment to make a change. The authors tell a cautionary story about this, often cited as the Jerry Maguire trap. Imagine you have that Life 3 fantasy we just talked about. Let's say it's opening a quaint little bakery. The romantic version involves smelling fresh sourdough at dawn and chatting with happy regulars. So you cash out your 401k, sign a 5-year commercial lease, and quit your corporate job in a blaze of glory. 6 months later, you realize you hate waking up at 3 a.m. You hate managing inventory. You hate the sticky feeling of flour on your hands. But now you're stuck. You bought the life before you tried it. Designing your life argues that you shouldn't quit your job to start a bakery before you've ever baked for a crowd or even catered a single wedding. You need to prototype that experience first. So how do you do that without ruining your current career? The author suggests 2 main methods. The first is what they call a life design interview. Now, this is crucial. This is not a job interview. You are not asking for work. You are asking for a story. You find someone who is already running a bakery or working as a tour guide or doing whatever that Odyssey plan entails, and you buy them a coffee. You ask, how did you get here? What is your Tuesday actually like? When you ask people for their story, the dynamic changes. It lowers the stakes. People love talking about themselves, and you get the unvarnished truth about the industry without the pressure of trying to impress a hiring manager.
The second method is a prototype experience. This is the test drive. If you think you want to be a baker, go volunteer at a bakery for a week. Work the counter, scrub the pans. If you think you want to be a high school teacher, don't go get a master's degree yet. Go sit in the back of a classroom for a day. The mantra here is, build your way forward, don't think your way forward. You cannot analyze your way into a passion. You can't sit on your couch and figure out if you'd like living in Tuscany. You have to go there. You have to get behind the wheel and drive the car around the block before you sign the papers. And here is the beauty of prototyping. Suppose you do that test drive and you hate it. Suppose you volunteer at the bakery and realize it's exhausting. Most people would call that a failure. You had a dream and it died. But a designer calls that data.
And that data is exactly what you need to build what the authors call failure immunity. Now, this is a big one. It's the final piece of the puzzle, and probably the most important mindset shift in the entire book. See, most of us grow up thinking life is a finite game, like baseball or chess. There are rules, there's a scoreboard, and eventually there's a winner and a loser. You either get the promotion or you don't. You win at marriage or you fail at it. But Burnett and Evans argue that life isn't a finite game at all. It's an infinite game. There is no winning life. You don't cross a finish line at age 65, hold up a trophy and say, I did it, I won. The only goal of an infinite game is to keep playing, to keep evolving. When you look at it through that lens, failure stops being a dead end. It stops being a verdict on your worth as a human being. Instead, it just becomes raw material. It's just feedback for your next prototype. If you test drive that bakery life and realize you hate waking up at 3 a.m., you didn't fail. You just successfully gathered data that says, hey, maybe I'm not a baker. Maybe I just really like croissants. That distinction is huge. It allows you to separate who you are from what you do. And that is the mantra we need to leave you with today. You are not your job. Your job is just a thing you do. It's a design you're currently living out. If it's not working, you don't have to scrap yourself. You just have to redesign the role. You tweak the prototype. You try the next experiment. It takes the pressure off, doesn't it?
Well, folks, we have covered a lot of ground in this series, from reframing your dysfunctional beliefs to wayfinding with your good time journal to building Odyssey plans and prototyping your future. I really hope this deep dive into designing your life has given you some tools to get unstuck and start building a life that looks like you. If you enjoyed this series, please do hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next deep dive. And if you want to dig into the exercises we talked about, like the Odyssey Plans or the Failure Log, I highly recommend picking up the actual book. I've dropped a link to it in the show notes below. Remember, there is no one right life for you. There are many lives you could live, and you have the tools to build any one of them. Your life is a creative process. Go design it.